Hello everyone, this is John Galt speaking, here with a tutorial video on the packaging process and the testing process of any templates that you guys buy from me that have the basic little Steam menu in it. So currently that is the simple capture the flag template and the teams and class select template. And if and when the first person shooter basic template that I have submitted gets onto the marketplace, the process will be exactly the same for all three of these. So I can knock this video out and get it all done in one. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to search for simple, right? And we'll just do the simple capture the flag template. I'm going to go ahead and do this for engine version. It doesn't really matter. It supports engine version 4.15 all the way to 4.24. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this in 4.15 because really that's my engine of preference, but it'll work in all of them. It'll all pretty much be exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and create the project here. And that should just take a second. And here we have it. Okay, so before you actually start this, there's one thing that I want to point out to you guys that is a necessary step. So you have to have Visual Studio, right? And to my knowledge, it tells you when you go to package the project what version of Visual Studio that you need. Older engine versions use like Visual Studio 2015. But as you progress through newer engine versions, you also have to progress through newer versions of Visual Studio. So there's a free one. And if I'm not mistaken, it actually even pops a link up when you try to package a project. If you don't have Visual Studio installed, it actually pops a link up that you can click that will allow you to download the correct version of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of show you guys this. I already have this installed. So essentially you download Visual Studio, it'll give you an installer. And in that installer, depending on which version you use, you guys will have to do a little bit of research on your own to make sure that you're installing exactly what you need in order to be able to package, right? Because, that's really beyond the scope of this, but you guys should easily be able to Google package UE4 projects. You guys should probably be able to Google that, and you should be able to find information on what it is that you need. But there's some versions of this Visual Studio that you have to specifically install some extra tools that are able to be installed when you install Visual Studio. It's been so long ago, I don't really remember exactly, what the process is, but it's common tools in C++, right, as your plugins that you have to install when you install Visual Studio. But you guys should be able to Google around and find it, right? Once again, you guys will have to do that part. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the rest of the process here. So with Visual Studio installed, right, we're going to go ahead and open this project here. And once again, this is going to be the same for every single one of the projects that I have. Every template that I sell on the UE4 marketplace that has Steam functionality built into it, this process will be exactly the same. A lot of people ask me why, I didn't do just add asset, like you could just add it to a current project. Well, the reason is because of this, right? It's not as easy as just adding this to your project and magically you have capture the flag in Steam API and menu system. It's not as easy as that, right? There's things that have to be put in the INI file and all that stuff. And all that stuff's pre-done in this project, but the migration process is a little bit more complicated than just simply migrating it in and it magically work. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit play here just to kind of show you guys this. So, you know, you can do single player, which it's essentially the same thing as multiplayer. It just doesn't make your server visible to other people. So we're going to click multiplayer and then just host a game. And you can change your map and how many players are allowed and all that stuff, which is covered in the overview. But essentially, this is just a little demo of how I set up team play and a capture the flag mechanic, right? So, you know, these are meant to be super basic so that you can easily follow them and you can easily recreate it in your project if you want to try to add capture the flag as one of your types of play in your game. It does have a respawn system and all that stuff. Okay, so once you build your map, for example, add your combat system. Now, once again, guys, I can't be responsible for this package failure if you guys have modified this template beyond what it comes with, right? So there's lots of errors that can occur when you try to package projects. Like if you just added an asset pack so that you could have some wall panels and floor panels and all that stuff, a lot of those things that come from the marketplace come preloaded with errors. And those errors generally cause packaging issues. So it ain't as simple as just sticking a map in here that's pre-created and packaging it. But in the current state, the way the project comes off the marketplace, there are no packaging errors, right? So just keep in mind, if you guys start modifying this and all that stuff, you might run into issues trying to package. Your process may not necessarily go as smoothly as this one. Okay, so once you get all that done and you're ready to package, there's a couple things that you should verify before you hit the go button. So click the drop down beside the settings button and go in the project settings, and under maps and modes, make sure that your game default map is the main menu that is included in this project. Also make sure that the game instance that comes with this project is also loaded here as well. Okay, so the next thing that you guys should probably check is go underneath the packaging section here, and there is a fold out right here where you can make sure that the maps that you're including, all the maps that you're including need to be in this list. So in the default state of this is the main menu map, the test map 1, and the test map 2. If you guys rename the maps that come in this project, you delete them, create your own maps and all that stuff, you guys will have to come in here and make sure that this is pointing to the correct maps and the correct names. And if you change all this stuff, essentially you just delete them all, then add 3 back, if that's how many you choose to put in here. Just make sure that the directory where you're pointing them to is actually the correct directory inside this project, okay? All right, and another thing that I do, which you guys may or may not do, the only supported platform that I support with my products is Windows, right? That doesn't mean that it won't work for Android or iOS or any of that stuff. It just simply means that I don't have any way to test anything except Windows platform. So if you go into the supported platforms here, I turn off everything except for what I support, which is Windows. Okay. Now, after you finish that, you have Visual Studio installed. All is right with the world. You come up here, hit File, and then you go to Package Project, and you make sure that you go to Windows and 64-bit. Then you click it, and you can put this wherever you want. In this case, I'm just going to stick it on my desktop and say OK. And then you can show output log. You can watch this as it's packaging. Essentially, what you're looking for here is things that come up that are written in yellow or things that are written in red. Generally, the things that are written in yellow will not cause the packaging process to fail. But if anything comes up in red, you likely will get so far into this and then it will kick it out and say packaging failed. So you'll have to go figure out what that is. Once again, in the default state, there are no yellow warnings. There are no red errors, and everything packages successfully. So once that's completed, it'll tell you packaging completed. Now, there is one other thing that I want to mention to you guys here, which I just thought of just now. So back in the project settings, Another thing that you guys might want to look at, which really this just depends on what it is that you're doing, in the packaging section here, you also have the ability to fiddle with the build configuration. Like you could package it as a development build or stuff like that. So I think this project comes preloaded with the build configuration set to shipping. The staging directory that will change based on where you guys tell it to package to. I also believe I have full rebuild checked, and I also have 4 distribution checked. So once again, I'm pretty sure this comes pre-loaded, but if you guys are curious, you can come in here and change this stuff around if you choose to. Like if I uncheck 4 distribution, you see that now I have the option of packaging a debug or a development build or whatever, but I always just package it as a shipping build with a full rebuild too. So just keep that in mind. So now the packaging process is complete, and when it's completed, you will have a folder wherever you told it to package to called Windows No Editor, and you can rename this, right? So I would call this something like Test Simple CTF, right? Simple Capture the Flag. Now there is another thing here that I want you to point out to you guys, which is kind of important too. And this also, you know, this is going to take a little bit of conversation here on how you test this. So there is another file that is required in order for this to function properly if you package it as a shipping build. I'm pretty sure if you do a development packaging, this is not a required step. But if you do a shipping build, you need to create yourself a simple notepad document, right? So you would just notepad, right? Bring this little notepad up, and inside here you type 480. That's it, just 480. And then when you save this file, you need to make sure that you name it exactly like this file right here. All lowercase, Steam _ app ID. Okay? And that's why I keep a copy of this on my desktop, because I do this stuff so much. But if I open this, once again, it's just a simple notepad document with 480 in it. And if you're curious, this is the default app ID that Steam provides for testing, right? So if you are doing a legitimate game, you will have paid Steam some money, and Steam will have given you a proper app ID. In this case, this is not a product that you stick on the Steam store and sell at this point. It's a demo, a template, if you will. So you use the default Steam app ID, which is 480. And you store that in a simple notepad document. You know, you just got to make sure that you name it exactly like this, because when you run this package build, it is looking for this name of this file. So once you do that, you simply copy that. I just keep a copy of this on my desktop. So I copy this. Then inside your packaged build, under the name of the project, in the binaries, under the platform, you right click and just simply paste that little copied text notepad document inside your project. Okay. And that is that. So there's 2 ways to test this, right? So even though this doesn't support LAN, right? I removed all the LAN stuff because honestly, I personally don't believe people are doing LAN these days. They're just not. That's pretty much a thing of the past, kind of. So what this does is it will support running multiple instances of the project, the package build, on the same computer, so that you can test it without actually having to have other people come join you. Right, so we'll talk about that process first. So what you do is you just simply open the exe file, and it will launch the main menu. And you go ahead and host you up a match on one screen, right? And once again, you can change the map you start on and all that stuff. So I'm just going to hit host game and put this guy over here on the red team. Now you run another instance of this on the same computer. So you hit Alt-Tab, and you just simply execute the executable again. right? And you go to multiplayer, except this time around, you go to the find games instead of host, and you click find games, and it'll do its little search deal here. And it should bring up that instance that's running, and you click it, and then you can at that point pick the team. And if you look across the way over there, you will see that there he is, right? So there's the guy that's hosting, and here is the connected client 1. You grab the flag and you do this. And at any point during this, other players can join you, right? So I'm going to go ahead and run another instance of this. And we will do find games again, and we'll connect a second client to this server. And we'll put him on the blue team as well so I can keep up with the server. And there he is. And as you can see, when you do join a game in progress, everything is working the way that it's supposed to. See, he has the flag. So when this other client joined, it automatically notified him so that the flag and everything is being displayed correctly to those who join after some action of this has taken place. And essentially that's it, right? You can keep connecting as many players to this local version of this that you want, as long as your computer is able to handle it, right? So it ain't like you could connect 40 and it be okay. And essentially that's it, right? So that is how you can play with yourself and test this little project here. And once again, to test the respawn system and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and return this flag, and we'll just go ahead and get it to cycle the map so that you guys can see that map travel actually works. I meant to, what am I doing here? How do you play capture the flag again? The flag has to be at the base, by the way. So it ain't like I could just run over that and cap it, right? So see, the flag is not at the base. So if I try to cap this one, it's not going to cap because that flag ain't here. So we can return it by the same team running over it. And now it's there, and you can see that I capped it. So I'll go ahead and get 5 flag caps here, just so it will cycle us from test map 01 to test map 02, so that you guys can see that map travel works. And then after this, we will go through the process of, if you want to test this using the Steam API, which is kind of complicated really, but we'll get through it either way. All right, and so once again, when the match is over, it pops up a match ended, tells you which team won. It waits for a small duration, which you guys could put timers in and make it display and all that stuff. And then you cycle to the next map, and once everybody gets joined up on the team, you can see that it brought the server and everyone that is connected to the new test map, which looks almost identical to the test map 1. But you can see I pumped some heals up in this one and changed some of the writing into blue and reversed the side of the map. So there's that. So that's how you can play with yourself. And I'm going to go ahead and just quit the game here. And then we'll talk about the process of testing this on Steam. Okay, so Steam is a bit more complicated. So you have to distribute this to the people that you want to test with. So what I do is, after you make sure you've done what we did, right? We put that Steam app ID in there. I generally right click this and say send to compressed zip folder, and it'll zip it up. And you know, depending on how much stuff you guys add to this could take a hot minute. And once you do that, this is what you would distribute to the people that you want to test. There is a packaged version of this on the product page, which is essentially this, right? It's a zip file that contains a packaged build of the product that's for sale that people can download and test. So once you get that done, you would send that to people, right? You could put it on your Google Drive or whatever, give them a link to it. An important part of this is that everyone has to have the same version, right? So if you go into the project and you change a bunch of stuff, Then you zip it up and you upload it for people to download. When you go back into that project and start changing more stuff, you have to update. In other words, you have to repackage a new version of this, replace the current version that you're having people test, because they're not interdependent, right? So when you host a game on version 1, the stock version of this, only the people that are using stock versions will be able to find it. You go in there and modify a bunch of stuff, you have to package it, re-upload it, and they have to have version 2. So everybody has to be on the same version for this to work, okay? All right, so once they get it, they just simply extract it, and I'm just going to say extract here, and we will let that unzip here on my desktop. And now let's talk about the rest of this, which is a pain in the butt, but hey, welcome to game dev. Everything sucks, right? That's just kind of how it is. So step 1 to be able to test on Steam is that you actually have to have your Steam API, your Steam overlay, running in the background, right? This is what triggers this thing to know where to hunt. So once you have that running in the background, the next thing that I want to point out, which is extremely important here, is that Steam filters out search results based on region and ping rates. And so the TLDR of what that means is, if I host up this match here in the great state of Tennessee, somebody trying to join me in Bangladesh is not going to be able to locate nor find my server. That is not a UE4 thing. That is not a way this project was built thing. That is quite literally a Steam thing. That's something that they automatically just do. And, you know, to be truthful about it, they should, because if somebody in Bangladesh is trying to join my server here in Tennessee, their ping rate's going to be 10 billion, which means the game's going to run like ass and everything's going to suck, right? So it does this as a way to keep decently reasonable ping rates for servers that you're trying to join. It just omits ones that suck, right? That are too far away. Now, there is a workaround for this. So if the only person you can get to help you test is in fact somebody in Bangladesh, and I'm in the great state of Tennessee, you can override the region lock, the ping rate filter. So here's how you guys do this. So you right click your Steam overlay and you go into the settings section. In the settings section, you go into downloads. This is your download region. So if that person in Bangladesh wants to join me, he is going to have to go into his Steam project, his Steam overlay, into this section here, and he's going to have to pick a server that is close to, or if not, the exact same as my download region, right? So in other words, you guys can see that mine defaults to US Atlanta. That means Jorge over in Bangladesh is going to have to go into his Steam and set his download region to be US Atlanta, right? That's still not going to make the ping rate and everything not suck, but you can at least still be able to search for and find servers, regardless of region, if they set their download region to be the same as the person that's hosting the server, okay? And you also have to restart Steam. It will tell you when you change this, Steam needs to be restarted, so they will have to restart their Steam. Then at that point, if you have a match hosted, they should be able to search for it and locate it, okay? Ping rate's going to suck. I would highly advise not doing that. But if you guys have issues locating the server to be able to test this little Steam project here, that's a way that you can manually override the filters, okay? All right, and so once that's done, right, the host, whoever's deciding they're going to host, they simply run the executable the same way that you do when we tested it playing with ourselves. You're going to notice this time around the little Steam thing pops up here. And at this point, you are now connected to the Steam API, and you can hit Shift-Tab, and that brings up your overlay, your friends list. It's going to tell you that you're playing a game called Space War, which is totally not what you're playing, but that once again is related to the default Steam app ID, right? Everybody that's testing something is generally playing Space War, right? Even though technically they're not. And so you can shift tab here and you can, turn your overlay on and off, okay? So that's how you know that you're connected. When you see that little message down here, you're good to go. So now when you hit multiplayer and hit host game, your server at this point right here, your server is now visible to other people who are using the same packaged build version that you distributed to them. And so I'm going to go ahead and just click up Red Team here. Now here's the thing. You can't play with yourself on Steam, right? It's tied to your account. So it ain't like I could reopen up another version of this and find this server. You have to use separate computers. You have to have separate account names and all that stuff, right? But what you can do is if you hit the P key to bring up the player list, you're now going to notice that default name that shows up in here when you're playing with yourself, basically it's the name of your computer, is now your actual Steam name, your Steam username. So anyone that connects here, their Steam username is what's going to be displayed in this player list. Also, that tag above the player's head, which you guys might not have noticed, that will also have their Steam name in it. And so, once again, you can't play with yourself. So I have nowhere to go with this, right? Like I could sit here and cap these flags and get it to cycle the map and all that stuff. But until I have a version of this somewhere and tell people, hey, go download this and join my server and let's test this, likely no one will ever join, right? Because welcome to testing. That's exactly how it works, okay? So there you go, guys. I mean, that's the process. So at this point here, someone who downloaded it could load it up, make sure you follow all the rules, right? They got to have their Steam running in the background. They got to make sure that they're in the same general download region. And then they can hit search and they should find this server. They join. You can look in the player list. Their name will be there. And when you look at them in game, their name will be above their head. And guys, that is that. And that is the process for every single template that I have created. That's exactly how it works. So all this that we talked about here is not only for the simple capture the flag template, this is also for the teams and class select, exact same process and procedures. When and if that multiplayer FPS basic template is accepted and available for sale on the UE4 marketplace, the process will be exactly the same. So that covers all the products. And that's, part of making things be consistent and conform is that, hey, I get to make one video and now you guys know how to package and test any product that I ever make that has the Steam capability to host and join listen servers. All right, and so with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring Chad over here. I did notice some of you guys popping up here. So, hey, Oni, what's happening, dude? Hey, Adam, how's it going? Hey, John, hope your mom are doing well. She got home the 7th, and it's complicated, but she is doing okay. And so, I'm not going to have a heap ton of time to do this, but I've got to get these videos made about, okay, so I have these products that are now for sale again on the UE4 marketplace. I need to talk about the documentation, if you will. So I already did the overview video basically talking about what it is. So now there's going to have to be a series of videos about, okay, so what the hell do I do with this? So this is part one video of, well, this is how you package and test it. So there will be other videos made talking about, how you set your map up, like you bring in your team starts and all that crap. And, I have to be careful, though, talking about the modification of this template, because it's very easy to be able to figure out how I did all this stuff by just watching these quote unquote documentation videos, and that kind of defeats the whole point of having it, right? If you know how to do it and you know how to make it, A, first of all, you wouldn't buy it because you already know how to do it. And B, if you could recreate what I did without buying the template by simply pausing tutorial videos and looking at blueprints, yeah, that's kind of shooting myself in the foot. Hey, Ripper Junkie, what's happening, dude? I can't asset flip this. No, I mean, you could theoretically, but it's going to be a pretty terrible game because A, there's no combat. B, there's no way to kill each other than hitting the Z key and suiciding yourself. There's no sound, no sound effects, no capture the flags, no telling you who actually captured the flag. So there's a lot to be done and added to this template, but it's a basic, simple capture the flag demonstration. It's not meant to be, hey, look, I just made a capture the flag game and all I did was change the skeletal mesh out. No. It is the purpose of all my templates, by the way, are for a couple, right? One is you buy the template, you take it apart, look at it, go look at all the blueprinting, the scripting, and how it was done, how it was achieved, how I'm putting the name above the player, how I'm displaying it in the player list, how I'm doing the capture the flag mechanic. Live it, learn it, love it, and then recreate that in your game if you want to add capture the flag. Part two of what you could do with this template is you could start quite literally building right on top of it. You want to make a hack and slash capture the flag game? Start adding your animations, your combat systems, your sound effects, your weapon systems. Build it right on top of this template and go from there. What it's not meant to do, even though you can do, is try to take what I've done in this template and migrate it into another template and try to reconnect all the dots, right? Because they're obviously going to be foobarred at that point. And it's really complex and complicated. And honestly, it's easier, I think, to learn how this was done and just simply recreate it in your existing project if you want to add a capture the flag type mechanic to your game. But you can migrate it, right, if you want to, but it's not as easy as people seem to assume that it is. It never is, and it has nothing to do with the way the template is made. It's the nature of how these things work. When you're building things, they have to be able to talk and communicate with other things. And if you already have those other things in a project, you've got to modify what's in here to communicate with the things in your project and not what's in this one, right? So it's a big, huge process. But yeah, you could asset flip it if you want to. Brett Dunham, been a while since I sat down and watched your live stream. Sorry about that. That's okay, man. I stream so sporadically, it's hard to keep track anyway. Emery Plumber, hey dude, what's happening? Ripper Junkie, don't know why, but I like hearing John talking. He expresses himself really good. Well, thank you very much for that. You guys would probably be shocked at some of the comments that I get about my accent, right? I don't know what they're talking about. I don't really think I have an accent, but apparently, I talk like a dirt dumb redneck. Apparently. But obviously that's not true. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to know how to do all this stuff if I'm a dirt dumb redneck that lives in a thatch hut, right? What the hell do they know about making games and stuff? So obviously, don't let the accent fool you, right? I might sound, like Jeff Foxworthy or any other old hillbilly redneck, but I can promise you, I'm pretty smart, right? So don't deduct 100 IQ points just because I talk like this. But you guys would probably be shocked at how many comments I get about, what the hell do you know about making games? You're just a dumbass redneck, right? It happens. You guys don't get to see that, right? Because I filter all that crap out and you guys don't have to put up with the garbage comments that come in a lot. And Adam Oakler, you can't play with yourself on Steam. Hold my beer. You guys know that I say that intentionally trying to be humorous, right? You can't play with yourself on Steam, but you can play with yourself, if you run multiple instances. So that's pretty funny. All right, guys, I'm going to run. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. And, you know, I'll probably make a playlist separate from the overview playlist about the products, just to keep it separate and not convoluted. So there will be a series of tutorial videos, but all these videos are really just going to be about the basic use and operation of, you know, these templates that I have for sale currently, and any others that get added in the future. So with that, you guys take care. This is John Galt, and we will see you guys in another video in another time. Have a good one.